It's January 15th, JLD here, and welcome to MSTR Today and the Treasury Titans. Nothing in this video is financial advice, so sit back, relax, and enjoy because right now I might sound a little bit different. I'm actually traveling. I'm in Florida for an event right now, so I'm actually recording this from my hotel room, but nothing stops the Bitcoin Defense Department, says Michael Saylor. And as you can see here, we have MSTR. We have Stretch, we have Stride, we have Strike, we have Strife, and of course, over in Europe, we have Stream as well, all of which is just feeding the Bitcoin machine at such an incredible level. Exciting times are ahead. And Michael Saylor also wants us to know that Stretch is volatility at 7%, yield at 11%. So look at all the way here to the right. You have volatility down here at 7%, but the yield is 11%. And by the way, that volatility is going down, down, down. I mean, we'll see what happens tomorrow after the ex-dividend date, actually, probably even later today, January 15th, with the snapshot date being today specifically. You know, could trade a little bit below 100 for a while. We'll see how long it does that. And that'll probably depend on if Michael Saylor raises the rate to 11.25 coming up on the 30th or the 1st of the month coming up here. I'm actually hoping for another little 0.25 BIP raise because why not? Like, let's keep this thing pegged at 100 all the time so Saylor can just keep ATMing his face off. I am here for it. Let's flip and go. Jeff wants us to know that week 2, day 3 of Stretch Watch, record-setting volume. We're talking $195 million of volume, and all of that was at Stretch being over $100. That's a combined $545 million volume, or sorry, 545 million share volume in 3 days this week. 43% of that volume would be 234 million. That equates to 2,450 Bitcoin on Stretch alone in 3 days. 181% of the natural new supply over the last 3 days. Jeff says we're going higher. And by the way, if you don't understand that this is the actual iPhone moment that Michael Saylor was talking about, then you haven't been paying attention. This has been absolutely fantastic. Of course, it'll be great to see what happens over the next 3 or 4, really 5 trading days to see what happens after the snapshot date. And all we can do is sit back and wait. But guess what? Michael Saylor can just go ahead and raise it to 11.25 if he feels like he has to at some point in the future. Maybe that's going to be at the end of this month. Chris says 2025 was for the Bitcoin bears. 2026 is for the Bitcoin bulls. We will have our revenge. And guess what? The Bitcoin bears, they had 2025. It was a brutal, crabby year. Of course, we had multiple all-time highs in Bitcoin during that year, as Michael Saylor pointed out during the What Bitcoin Did podcast. But at the end of the day, it was a pretty tough, crabby drawdown overall. And the bears, that was for 2025, the bears. 2026 is for the bulls. I'm on board for 2026. Brian wants us to know that he is short real estate. For years, he's been saying that Bitcoin never calls at 2 a.m. about a broken toilet. Neither does Stretch. And I can proudly say that I sold my last investment property back in April of 2025. I put all of that money into MSTR, into MetaPlanet, into Bitcoin, and I've never been happier. I'm so thrilled about doing that. I would get phone calls all the time. You know, mine was an investment property on the beach. So you add on that salt spray that just corrodes everything and people just coming in with sand and salt water. I mean, it was just, listen, it produced income. It did, but it was absolute work. Now I get Michael Saylor to work for me. Now I get Fong Lee and the entire strategy team and Dylan and Simon over at MetaPlanet and just Bitcoin in general. Now I have them working for me. And guess what? They never call me because they don't even know that I exist. So good times are had. And this is what Lindsay wanted us to know, is that I wonder what's going to happen when real estate investors realize they can get 11% returns with Stretch without having to deal with tenants, toilets, and insurance. So flipping true. Chris says, this is the most important product in finance right now, and yet literally 99% of people have zero idea it exists. And of course, we're talking about Stretch, which has just been a beast this week. Chris says 95% of the bearish coverage around MSTR is futile. 0% of the bearish narratives around MSTR have materialized to date. Literally zero. All of the bearish narratives, 0 of them have materialized. And by the way, 0 of them will. Hugh says, in the short run, the stock market is a voting machine, but in the long run, it's a weighing machine. The market voted on MSTR in 2025. Now it has to weigh it. And by the way, when you weigh what MSTR is, wow, it's pretty exciting what the results are going to be. The Bitcoin Therapist has a comment about Bitcoin Archives post, which is just in. Bitcoin ETFs brought in 750 million Bitcoin yesterday. BlackRock led with 351 million. This is the largest inflow since October. Look at this green candle here. It's actually blue, but it's huge. And that's why the Bitcoin Therapist posted the 4-year cycle is broken. The golden bull run incoming. Let's go. Hugh says, Saylor is an engineer and he knows that perfection is achieved, not when there's nothing more to add, but when there's nothing left to take away. And he's talking specifically about when he was being interviewed on the What Bitcoin Did podcast. He keeps getting asked by people like Danny and all these other individuals, like, what's the next thing you're going to do? You become a Bitcoin bank. You're going to do this. You can do that. He's like, no. He's like, I've created the perfect product and the perfect market. We are going to dominate the digital credit world. This is a multi-trillion dollar market. I mean, there's over $300 trillion in this market in the big scheme of things. And he's not going for all of that because, that's not what he's doing. He's going for a huge chunk of that, which is going to turn Strategy into the largest and most valuable company in the world, period, end of story. He is laser focused. And you know what focus means? Follow one course until success. This man is on fire. Michael Saylor knows what he's doing. He's not going to get distracted. Fong Lee, the strategy team, they know what their focus is. They know where they fit in the marketplace, and they're just going to dominate. And then we have Ragnar that says Metaplanet ATM could be restarted as soon as tonight. The EU US tickers are currently trading at 624. If we surpass 637 in Tokyo, the ATM will restart. Imagine Saylor buying 3,000 to 4,000 Bitcoin every day, and Metaplanet another 300 to 500. And once this flywheel really starts turning full speed, I could imagine 10,000 Bitcoin being bought per day by all the Bitcoin treasury companies, maybe even more. Great times ahead. And by the way, this just shows how early we are. We are so early. I mean, right now, it's really just Strategy who's running on all 4 cylinders. And really, they have, so many more cylinders than that. They're going to be adding more, throughout the year and the decade ahead. But, Metaplanet's really getting its footing now. Strive is getting its footing with SATA, and it's preferred. I mean, it's even Smarter Web Company I saw is doing some cool things right now in the UK. So, I mean, listen, it's going to take some time, but these companies are getting their footing, and they will be a perpetual bid on the Bitcoin that's in the market. And guess what? This is not even taking into account the potential USD Bitcoin reserve, sovereigns, nation states. I mean, it's absolutely insane what the future is going to bring. In my opinion, if you're patient, if you believe in the thesis of Bitcoin, you just sit, accumulate, and wait. Sit, accumulate, wait. Sit, accumulate, wait. So I hope you enjoyed this. I have another great clip of Michael Saylor on the What Bitcoin Did podcast right when we get back from thanking our sponsors. Michael Saylor just made an $835 million bet buying the Bitcoin dip. Right now, Bitcoin's fallen almost 40% off its October high, and the big money is buying the dip. What's your strategy? Now might be a great time to convert your IRA or 401k to Bitcoin with the help of Bit IRA. Plus, you can fund it with pre-tax funds, then continue to invest in it over time as you do any other retirement accounts. Bit IRA protects your assets with end-to-end insurance, highly secure storage, multi-encryption, and registered with the U.S. government. Your IRA is fully IRS compliant. Best of all, you can trade crypto within your retirement account without incurring taxes on any buys or sells. Just go to bitira.com/JLD and request a free info guide. Once you do that and open your IRA, you'll get a free ledger. Bitcoin has proven time and time again to rebound, every cycle going from a higher low to a higher high. With Strategy's latest purchase, Michael Saylor clearly believes Bitcoin is at a discount. Time for you to get into. Go to bitira.com/JLD to open a tax-sheltered IRA in Bitcoin.
And then in like 2023, we had the Chat GPT moment. And then at some point, political sentiment flipped and electricity became cool again and power usage became. Remember how the ESG movement?
It disappeared very quickly.
Yeah. It was like, remember when there was the big ESG attack on Bitcoin, like Bitcoin can't use electricity or else that's the end. And I think we all kind of got saved by Chat GPT because once we realized that the hyperscalers were going to use 10 times as much energy as the Bitcoin industry, it became a rounding error.
It was suddenly okay.
And people decided maybe electricity was cool again and power was cool again. So I think you got to think for yourself, and you got to think from first principles. And first principles suggest that that unlimited clean energy, from a nuclear reactor is a good idea when the alternative is burning wood or burning whatever. And I think first principles suggest that digital intelligence is good. All you got to do is go and use these things, and they work, right? And you're like, okay, yeah, I want that. Like everybody wants that, right? If you use AI, everybody wants that. And then I think, do I want to be able to move money at the speed of light and store it forever in cyberspace? Of course I do. Of course I do. So has my conviction been swayed by 94 days of not hitting an all-time high? No, I'm going to go on the record and say that I have an endurance of more than 94 days.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a joke, right? Because there's no educated person that didn't go to school for 16 years.
94 days is not a lot.
94 days is not a lot of time to carry the flag. And so if I have to do it for 1,094 days, I could do that too, right? That would still be less time than it took me to get through MIT and get an undergraduate degree. And by the way, after 4 years at MIT and an undergraduate degree, you're still not deemed to be educated by polite society. Most sophisticated society, they would say, well, you need a master's degree to be a competent practitioner at the top of your field. So their position is 12 years of secondary school, 4 years of undergraduate, 2 years of graduate, and now you're ready to be a productive member of society. So that's 18 years, Danny. Bitcoin's 17 years old. And, we just had our 17th birthday on January 3rd. And so Bitcoin after 17 years is more than a $2 trillion asset. And it's been embraced by hundreds of publicly traded companies and hundreds of millions of people. And it's been almost 100 days since our last all-time high. I think I'm feeling pretty bullish, and I'm pretty happy about where we are. And if you gave me a choice, if you said, Mike, you can either have Bitcoin 150,000, but I'm going to roll back the banking acceptance, the options acceptance, the positive regulators at the CFTC, the SEC, or Treasury, or I'm going to roll back. In fact, if you said, I'll give you 150,000, but you have to pick one of these things to roll back. You have to give up the CAMT win, or you have to give up the FASB win, or you have to give up the support of the Treasury, or you have to give up the support of the SEC, or give up the support of the CFTC. Or you have to give up the support of the banking community for IBIT, or you have to give up the fact that Citi and Schwab are moving to trade and custody Bitcoin. If I had to give up just one of those things in return for an all-time high, the answer is I would give up the all-time high. Right? It's like, and this is kind of like adult-like behavior. I would give up immediate gratification for the next 90 days in order to get the support of the multi-trillion-dollar banking industry or the most powerful regulator in the world, or maybe the ability to make money or to be deemed as profitable. So I don't think there's any question in my mind. The industry is evolving the right way. The network is evolving the right way. And the last 90 days are just an opportunity for, someone that's got clear eyes to buy more Bitcoin.
Yeah. And I'm also very bullish on Bitcoin going into 2026. The thing that I guess surprised me somewhat in 2025 was just how many treasury companies turned up. Because when you first announced that Strategy were buying Bitcoin, I thought we were going to have a lot of people copying you much, much earlier. But really, it wasn't until last year that we saw the floodgates open and a lot of companies come in. I've been very skeptical of a lot of the treasury companies. I think Strategy and a few of the other larger ones are Strategy's in a league of its own. You've got over 650,000 Bitcoin. I think the preferreds are really interesting, again, kind of set you aside. What do you think of all the companies that are still doing the very simple, like sell equity, buy Bitcoin playbook?
Well, I guess what I would say is everybody in the world can buy Bitcoin as part of their investment, but not everybody is going to have as much as me. They could all buy it. I'm not skeptical of any of them if they buy it. Every family can buy Bitcoin. Some families will have more Bitcoin than other families. I'm not skeptical of a family's decision. Every company can buy Bitcoin. Some companies will have more Bitcoin than others. It's a good idea for all of them to buy it, right?
Whether they're sort of cash flow positive businesses or not.
If a company is not cash flow positive, then it's just not a good company, right?
But we see a lot of these companies crop up that really don't have a business. All they're doing is trying to issue debt and buy Bitcoin.
Okay. Well, aren't there plenty of people, like individuals, that don't have a business and they buy Bitcoin too? Are you going to criticize them?
No, I just don't know why.
Like, if you're not as rich as Bill Gates and you buy Bitcoin, should I criticize you?
No, of course not. But the problem I have, I guess, is why would anyone buy shares in that company as opposed to one like Strategy?
Well, every company is a different. What's the second best? There is no second best.